Welcome to the SKE 50 Plus climbing platform system. The following video gives you an overview of the operation and safety procedures for this system. Morris Rowe continually strive to improve our systems on every project. This video will highlight some of the innovations that we have applied to this rig. First, let's take a look at the system itself. The first section we'll look at are the rig personnel and briefings that take place. Most importantly, there is no unauthorised access to this system. All people accessing this rig must have undergone a rig safety briefing carried out by a member of the Morris Rowe team. If you were to carry out any works on the system, you will be additionally briefed on the RAMs and must have attended the daily rig tempo briefing. If for any reason you have not attended the rig tempo briefing, for example, if you're inspecting engineers or safety inspectors or visitors, the rig supervisor must be contacted and you will receive a briefing from them prior to being permitted access. The rig supervisor is Joseph Giev. His contact number is displayed on the screen now. Joseph's contact number can also be found on the rig entry poster at the base of the stairs. This section of the briefing will take you through the operation of the system. There are a number of risks associated with the operation of the SKE 50 Plus system. These include falls from height and falling equipment and materials, access to the upper sections of the shutters for installation of bolts and steel fixing, focusing on the removal of harness dependency, and obstructed access and means of escape. During jumping, an exclusion zone will be established. This will be the same distance from the core as the platform width. This is a safety factor for the possibility of debris falling past the rubber seals as the platform moves. Although this is unlikely, it is better to plan for the worst and ensure that the exclusion zone is correctly set up. To remove the risk of falling materials and equipment, the following measures have been taken. The entire trailing platform is lined with 8mm ply. This is an innovation set up by Morris Rowe and ensures that not even the smallest gap between the boarded base of the platform exists. Flexible rubber seals are installed at all points where the platform meets the concrete core structure. The flexibility of this rubber seals the gap between the platform and the core. Finally, the trailing platform is lined with fire retardant debris netting to ensure a floor-to-soft fit protection on the platform. The safety systems on the working platform focus on collective protection for the operatives working on them. These features include 2-metre high solid ply edge protection surround installed to the entire perimeter, providing increased edge protection to the operatives on this platform. As you can see, space is limited on the platforms, so a high standard of housekeeping is essential to minimise the risk of slips and trips, but also to prevent the risk of anything being displaced and potentially falling through an unseen gap. Allocated storage areas can be found throughout the platform, and materials and equipment must always be stored away in the correct locations at all times when not in use. An area of the rig has been designated as a rescue cage landing zone. This area is to remain free of materials at all times. The majority of steel fixing will be prefabricated and lifted into position. However, there is a requirement for operatives to access the steel to connect the adjoining walls by installing link bars. This will require access to the upper sections of the wall. To overcome this and remove ladder reliance for the operation, Morris Rowe employ the S-bracket system. This is a bracket that hangs from the retracted shutter and is boarded out with scaffold boards to provide a safe working platform from which the fixers can work. Another innovation for this rig is the introduction of an external intermediate platform. This platform is positioned 3/4 of the way up the external shutter and allows operatives to access tie bolts at the top of the shutter, again without the reliance on ladders or portable access equipment. This provides safe access and working space for these operatives through a design solution. When looking at the main access to the rig, Morris Rowe saw room for improvement. On previous systems, the final access from the stairs to the trailing platform was via a ladder. With this rig, the access stairs have now been designed to lead out directly onto the trailing platform. It is important to remember, however, that this is to be accessed only by authorised operatives. This is clearly signed, but if in doubt, contact the rig supervisor. Additional innovation on this system is the removal of the ladder access between the trailing and the working platforms. By oversizing one platform, it has allowed for a combi-safe staircase to be used to create a stepped access between these two levels. This is inspected on a weekly basis, and operatives must ensure that the access to and from the stairs remains clear at all times. You can now see the locations of both the main hanging stairs and the combi-safe stairs between the two platforms. Additionally, there are a set of barn doors that will be used to lower in the stairmaster units as the core progresses. Access routes around the rig must be maintained and free of trip hazards at all times. The rig is a limited space environment, so maintain your housekeeping standards and consider those moving around the rig. Access into the internal cells will be via the cast doorways, and as with other access routes, these must remain clear and trip hazard free at all times. Logistic plans are displayed throughout the rig. Information on these include first aid points, tool stations, works areas and fire points. Please familiarise yourself with these plans prior to entering the rig. In the event that somebody is injured on the rig, we may need to perform a rescue to recover them to the slab or ground floor level. There are two main methods for this system. Firstly, we can land a rescue cage on the working platform in the area kept clear for this purpose, and then lift them to safety using the tower crane. If, however, the operative is on the working deck, we may need an alternative method. If possible, we will lift them using the stretcher up the stairs to the working deck for rescue. If this is not possible, the rig is equipped with a descender rescue system. When coupled with a rescue stretcher, an operative can be lowered through the barn doors to safety below. Pre-jump checks are a safety critical item. Prior to every jump, the team will check the following. All shutters are fully retracted and the rig is checked for highest housekeeping standards. No loose tools or equipment are to be on the platforms. All tie bolts will be checked for any item on the rig that could potentially snag the core on lifting. All rubber seals will be checked to ensure that there are no gaps or areas where there is a potential for something to fall. Remember, this is not just a check that should be carried out only when climbing the system. If you see anything that gives you a safety concern, no matter how small, report it to the rig supervisor immediately. After all, we all have a responsibility to look out for each other. When climbing the system to the next level, the SKE 50 Plus is capable of lifting multiple platforms together. This means that open edges and potentials for a fall exist during the climb. The entire internal platform group will lift first, followed by the external platforms. Typically, this process will take approximately 2 hours. A permit to climb must be completed prior to any lift of the system. This ensures that the safety critical checks have been completed and that the concrete strength is sufficient to move the next lift. Docker Concremote will also be used to give a real-time feed of concrete strengths. Our main goal is to carry out the safe construction of this core. We will ensure that we adopt the safest working practices and continue to strive for improvements. All tools will be tethered at all times when working on any exposed section of the rig, such as maintenance and repair works. In addition, all loose items and components will be placed in storage bins or containers. The highest standards of housekeeping will be maintained throughout the construction of the rig, and we urge anyone visiting or working on the rig to raise any concerns or queries with the rig supervisor. As well as the rig construction, the SKE 50 Plus is designed with barn doors that allow the installation of the Stairmaster system without the need to remove any platforms from the system. Barn doors are constructed into the rig platform, allowing the stairs to be lowered through the rig to the installation levels below. This is covered under a separate method statement. However, the main safety point for those on the rig is that handrails will be installed prior to opening the barn doors, ensuring that there is no potential for a fall from height throughout the operation. Barn doors are constructed into the rig platform, allowing the stairs to be lowered through the rig to the installation levels below. This is covered under a separate method statement. However, the main safety point for those on the rig is that handrails will be installed prior to opening the barn doors, ensuring that there is no potential for a fall from height throughout the operation. Halfon channels will be cast into the core wall to allow for fixing and securing of the concrete pipeline as it progresses up the tower. In addition to this, drop-down sockets will be made available on the pour platforms, meaning the operatives vibrating the concrete will not need to have excessive trailing leads. Finally, if you are not already inducted and wish to access this rig, please contact a member of the Morris Row team.